Folks, today on the Stony Ridge Farm channel, we're going to take chicken breast like this and show you how to can it for storage for up to 15 years without refrigeration. 15 years? What? Hey there folks, this is Josh, Stony Ridge Farmer. Welcome back to another awesome day here on the Stony Ridge Farm. In the kitchen, this is Brody. Say hey Brody, wave at him. And today what we're gonna be making is canned chicken and chicken broth. Today's a pretty fun video. You're gonna learn a little bit about canning meat and storing meat without refrigeration. I know we have power outages and stuff right now that cause people to worry about their freezers. So here's what we're gonna do. I bought a bunch of chicken and we're gonna be canning some chicken right here in the Stony Ridge Farm kitchen. I'll show you everything you need to know to make your own broth and your own canned chicken.
I ain't afraid of work, I ain't afraid of play, I ain't afraid to get the job done and do it my own damn way. I ain't afraid of life, times like this. If you mess with my freedom, I'll tell you just what you can kiss. That's right.
First thing we need to start with is 40 pounds of chicken. Guys, welcome back to the farm channel. If this is your first time here, your 50 millionth time, please hit that like button, consider subscribing to the channel, and stay tuned because the next video in the series of keeping meat without refrigeration is going to be using the Harvest Right freeze dryer. So what we have here are canning jars. These are wide mouth canning jars with lids and rings. What we already canned yesterday are small mouth jars. We're gonna try the large mouth jars because I think it'll be easier to get the chicken in and out of. Now, we did a couple different things yesterday and I'll explain that to you, but today we're going to bake the chicken prior to putting it in the jars. And we need to cook it or blanch it prior to putting it in the jars so that we get a good seal. That's the main thing. So come along. As we get to knocking this out, I'll show you how we dice up the chicken and get it cooked. What we're doing today is very, very simple, folks. It is simply putting chicken in a jar and canning it. Now, there are a few little secrets and tips of the trade that you need to know in order to successfully accomplish this and get your jars to get that good seal. That's the main thing. That's what we're seeking here. This is what I canned yesterday. This is chicken, and you can see the chicken here is not quite as dark as the chicken here. Okay, you can see the difference. This was baked, this was boiled. I'm going to do all baked today. If you want to do this boiling it, then you basically just need to cut up your chicken and you need to put it in a pot with a little bit of water and boil it. Whatever leftover water you have is going to make delicious broth. So right there is your broth. Awesome stuff. Chicken broth for when you get sick, when you get a cold. Nothing better. The simple process that we're going to do here, we need canning jars, we need rings, we need lids. That's it. Rings, lids, canning jars, and we need a canner, a pressure canner. You have to do this with a pressure canner. I'll post a link down there in the video description to a great pressure canner, to all my cooking supplies that I use here on the farm. We got a cutting board and we've got chicken. Now you might be asking, Josh, you're a homesteader, right? You raise your own chickens. I do, but we ate them all. And I ran up on a deal. We have a local chicken farmer, so I bought this right off the farm for 58 bucks for 40 pounds of chicken breast. You can't beat that, and you can't raise them for that cheap. What we're gonna do, we'll take the chicken breasts out there, huge, they're whole chicken breast, and we'll cut them into small bite-sized sections, about 2-inch squares, and they'll shrink up a little bit as we bake them. So let me show you exactly what I do there. So this is the chicken. It's partially frozen. There's a reason behind that. The reason it's partially frozen is it's easier to cut up. We'll go ahead and start breaking out our chicken chunks, and you can see, like I said, they are partially frozen. We'll bring out 2 or 3, keeping our workspace free to get the job done. So we need a couple Pyrex dishes just like this and a good sharp knife. We'll go ahead and split these breasts just like so and start cutting them up into smaller pieces. We just take these, slice them up. They do cut better if they're partially frozen. And I just put these in the freezer overnight. Actually, as cold as it is, we could set them outside. All we're doing is dicing them up and dropping them in the Pyrex dish. You could do this with any piece or part of the chicken. You don't have to do this with just the breast. That just happens to be what we're doing today. About 7 pounds of chicken will do about 7 quarts. That's what we're trying to make. We want to be a couple inches from the top of the Pyrex dish. And we're gonna add a tiny bit of water to this later on, so hang tight. We're gonna season this to perfection. I'll show you how I do that. So for seasoning, you can use onion powder and garlic powder and salt, or just garlic salt, whatever you wanna use, whatever your seasoning of choice is, or Lowry seasoning salt. What we're gonna be using today is called Richards. Richards delicious seasoning, no MSG. I'll post a link to this in the video description. It's pretty expensive to purchase online, but I think I can find a place where you can buy a case of it. This typically costs about $3.99 in the grocery store, and it's got salt, garlic, black pepper, red pepper, basil, paprika, and that's it. No MSG. Awesome. Here's how we're gonna season our chicken. And we're gonna liberally apply this, but remember, you can't take salt away, so we can always add more salt later on, but we're just gonna apply it like a rub, and that's about it. Now, this will go into the oven at 450 degrees. When this comes out of the oven, it's gonna blow your mind. It's gonna look so delicious. There's a few things going on right here, but let's talk about this. While I was cutting this up, we preheat the oven to 450 degrees. There we go. And hit bake. 450. It's already warm. You hear it beep. And it's gonna go right in there, okay? We'll keep that closed until we get ready to put our meat in. This is a pressure canner. It's an old school Presto pressure canner. And inside this container is boiling water. And what I do is I try to sterilize my jars prior to canning. So I'll put them down in boiling water for about 10 to 15 minutes a piece. Then I'll take those jars and set them over here. I actually don't want to set it on top of the countertop. All these were sterilized last night. Now, let's go ahead and get our chicken in our oven. This is going to be delicious. This is going to take somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 to 20 minutes to complete. We just want a little color change and a little water to come out. Now in the meantime, while that's in the oven cooking, I'm gonna go ahead and start cutting up the next 7 pounds. We're gonna do 2 cannings today, but we're only gonna show you 1. 2 cannings means 2 times we'll fill that up. That will be filled up with 7 jars. That's how many jars that holds. I'll put a link in the video description for you guys to an awesome pressure canner where you can do, I think, 14 jars. That's a lot of chicken. So while the chicken's baking in the oven, I went ahead and ran off 2 quarts of warm water. We're gonna sit this over in the pressure canner, and we're gonna start preheating the water in the pressure canner. Pretty cool, pretty simple little process here. I'm just warming this water so that I can pour it over into the chicken once it comes out of the oven. What you need to know when we get ready to take this chicken out, we're gonna use tongs, and we'll pick it up with tongs, we'll put it down in the jar, and then the juice that's left over in the pan will be poured in on top. So we get the juices and the flavors. Again, don't over season, guys. Now, let's talk a little bit about what we're doing with our canner. We need 7 pounds of pressure for 35 minutes. That's how we do it. And I'm going to show you there's a special way we need to put our lids on, and there's some inspection process that we need to go through. A lot of folks use apple cider vinegar or white vinegar to clean their jar lids off and clean all this stuff. We don't need all that. It's unnecessary. What we're going to do today is the right way, and it's a simple, easy process. Again, you cannot take away salt. So remember, don't over salt it. This stuff is super useful if you want a quick meal, if you want to fry up some quick chicken nuggets, if you want to make chicken salad, if you just want to get a jar, pour it into a pan, heat it up, and have a good healthy snack. This is an awesome way to go about it. Hey Siri, set a timer for 20 minutes.
20 minutes, starting now.
That's about how long it's going to take the chicken to cook. Let's get to cutting up the rest of it. Folks, while you're preparing everything and the chicken's still in the oven, we want to go ahead and get our rings and our lids prepared by warming them up in just a little bit of warm water. It doesn't need to be boiling, it needs to be about 160 to 180 degrees. So we're all prepped up for the next round that's gonna go in the oven. I think we have about 10 seconds left before we check our chicken. If you're looking, you ain't cooking, so that's why we set it. There we go, that's why we set it and we forget it. We'll stop that and we'll go check in our oven, see what our chicken looks like. We're about good as gold right there, guys. That's what we want. So our workstation's all prepped up. Got to put our heat resistant gloves on. These are pretty awesome gloves. They're rubberized so you don't lose grip. They're for grilling. Reach in here in the oven and grab out our deliciousness right here. Oh my goodness. We'll set this down on the counter basically, We'll get both of them out at the same time. There is a heat resistant mat. This is just a flower pot cork mat that I use to keep from burning my countertops. Yummy, yummy, smells so good. We'll go ahead and bring our jar lids over here. They're all warmed up, steaming. That's basically all you want to do is just pre-warm them. There are a few tools. This is a little magnet. I'll put a link to a canning kit that includes a little magnet like this, a canning funnel, and canning tongs. So we have 7 jar lids in there. We have 7 rings ready to go, and we've got 7 jars sterilized and ready. The next step is to simply grab the jar, put it over your workspace, and pick up your chicken, drop it in there. Pack it down into your jar, just like that. Get a good pair of tongs, pack them down in there really good. Get one jar just about where you think it's ready, and move on to your next jar. You want to make sure you get an even amount of the ones that are covered with seasoning and the ones that aren't. And they're not fully cooked just yet. This is the point where we pour our warm water to our broth solution. And that way we have enough water to fill the jars all the way up. Now we'll carefully pick up our Pyrex dish and gently pour in the broth. I'm going to leave about 1 inch of headspace up here at the top of the jar. And don't let this yumminess go to waste. It's right in here, guys. Take your little wooden spoon. That's some good yumminess right in there. That's some flavor. So we'll continue to repeat this process until we have all of our chicken in all of our jars. If you don't think you're going to get a full 7 jars for canning, just make sure you have 8 and you'll fill in the empty spots. In other words, when you fill up your pressure canner, if you're missing one jar, you can fill it in with the other one so they don't clink and clank and fall around in there. Now that we've got our chicken in our jars, it's time to put our lids on. Now this is an important step, okay? So we want to line our lid up. We want to make sure this rubber's a little bit soft. We'll set our lid on there in place. We'll put our ring on and we are going to put it grandma tight, okay? There's a term you can use. Not cinching it down as hard as we can, but just loosely hand tight, grandma tight. Think of a little old lady tightening the lid. Now I know there's some strong little old ladies out there, but just tighten it grandma tight. And then we'll set them over in the pressure cooker. The reason we do that is because this is going to expand and we're going to burp out air, create a vacuum here. And the vacuum is what prevents bacteria from growing. The vacuum and the fact that we're going to have it in the pressure cooker at 7 pounds of pressure for 35 minutes. So we'll go ahead and do all these jars, load them in the pressure cooker. And we're waiting for our pressure cooker right now. And as soon as it starts to jiggle, we will start our timer. We want a jiggle like that, not a vigorous jiggle. So once it starts jiggling, we'll turn our heat down to about medium low for 35 minutes. All right, that's our 7 pounds of jiggle. We want to turn her on down, about medium, and let it jiggle, wiggle, wiggle. 35 minutes. All right, 35 minutes have gone by. These 2 pans are ready to rock and roll. We'll go ahead and load up our next jars, and we're going to let this cool off on its own, okay? There's a little safety latch on the pressure cooker. Once the pressure is all the way down, it'll stop jiggling. There'll be no more pressure. We'll open it up, and I'll show you what we do. There's a specific procedure that you need to follow here, and then you're going to start hearing that noise. Tink, tink, that tink noise when it seals. Guys, it's important that you let your canned food sit on the counter so you can monitor it for at least 48 hours prior to putting them away in the cabinet. That way, if you do have a jar that doesn't seal, you can put it in the fridge and go ahead and consume that right away. We are all done. Everything's wrapped up here, and we'll go ahead and we'll take our, carefully remove our weight. And this is our safety latch. It tells us when it's time. We can open it up. You guys are gonna love this. Open this critter up. Ooh, daddy got some steam. There we go. Awesome. Wait till you see what these look like as I get them out. They're still boiling, you can see. The next step in this procedure, and again, this is very procedural. Take this out carefully. Like I said, we're still boiling over right there. Okay, we want to take a towel and we want to dry off the top right here, just like so. And then we're going to snug down our lids. This requires 2 towels. 1 towel to hold, 1 towel to snug. Be careful, they can boil over on your fingers, so go slow and easy. And then we go from grandma tight to He-Man tight. So we just get them nice and snug, just like so. Very good. We'll set that to the side to let it cool. Grab the next one. So you'll notice they're still boiling. Dab that little bit of water off the top. Take your towel, hold it on here, snug it down. Nice and careful. You're gonna hear them start sealing pretty soon. Guys, understand you're handling something dangerous here, okay? If you can let it sit in the pot, let it sit in the pot because this stuff will burn you. Snug it down. You're gonna hear them seal in just a second. Ooh, I heard one popping. Man, that is so beautiful. Check it out. Look at that. So it's normal. They'll continue to boil like that. And I just heard 2 of them pop. You can see this one's already popped down. When you're canning meat like this, it will seal really quickly. Now you see the rings and lids? I didn't use rings and lids. Next thing you want to do is take a Sharpie and write on your lid what you did. 123 boiled chicken plus red pepper, and that's breast. So we'll label each one of these with the date, just like so. 123, it's sealed, and it's breast. Chicken, CKN, and our seasoning was Richard's. That's it, we'll do all those. Guys, that's how you can chicken. Now, we don't have to refrigerate this and it'll keep up to 15 years. What? 15 years? Sealed in there, sterilized, ready to eat. All you gotta do is pop a jar open. They won't last 15 years here on the farm. Let me know what your experience is on how long your canned food will last. Some of my dad's canned food is from 25 years ago. I don't know if I'd eat that or not. Guys, thanks a lot for joining me. We will keep an eye on these for about 48 hours. Make sure everything's good to go. Make sure everything stays sealed. If they don't, we'll consume them right away, put them in the fridge, and if not, we'll go ahead and put them away in the larder. The larder is our food storage area here on the farm. Cool? Thanks a lot, guys. We'll see you next time on the Stony Ridge Farm channel. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Next video on chicken is going to be how to freeze dry chicken. You guys are going to love it. Take care. Have a great day. Woo!
Come on down to the Stony Ridge. Bring your wife and bring your kids. We're living life pure and sweet. That's the way it's supposed to be, Stony Ridge.
Hey, dude. Why do you find it necessary to eat right while and crunch while I'm trying to shoot a video? Don't you know this is serious? Crunch some more, dude. Please crunch some more. Guys, Brody is crunching right now. He never eats. I think he's a little camera shy. Brody doesn't get canned chicken. It's too good.